Hey, what's up guys, TechTine here and I'm back again with a brand new video. So if this is your first time on the channel, don't make it your last. Be sure to subscribe and also leave a like under this video if you found it useful. And I want to hear your thoughts about the camera experience on your Galaxy S23 FE or in general. So with that being said, today we're going to be reviewing the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE's camera. So we're going to be doing a technical specs. We're going to talk about design, camera experience, picture quality, video quality, selfie camera quality. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So beginning with the actual design of the camera lenses, it's very typical Samsung, very familiar design in my opinion. So you have your triple camera setup experience and there's this metal ring around it to help protect the lens when you drop the phone. But the camera lenses in general, they do protrude quite a bit. So if you have a case on it or you want to protect your lenses better, yeah, a case is the best way to go in that regard. With that being said, let's talk a little bit about the camera specs themselves. So beginning with the main sensor, you do have a 50 megapixel sensor at f1.8 aperture and it is 24mm wide sensor with optical image stabilization. As far as your two other cameras, you have an 8 megapixel telephoto lens at f2.4 aperture and it does support up to 3 times optical zoom, and you also have your 12 megapixel at f2.2 123 degrees ultra wide sensor. As far as your selfie camera goes, you do have a 10 megapixel selfie sensor. Alright, so now let's go ahead and switch the topic of conversation and talk about the camera experience in general. So basically it's a typical Samsung camera app. It's very fast, very quick at taking pictures, so really you shouldn't have any problems with that at all. And you have options to switch to your portrait mode, which typically would use your kind of telephoto lens for that, but you can use your other lenses like your main sensor or your ultra wide, but the telephoto seems to be the most effective when it comes to that. And you do have a couple of options if you want blur, studio, and low mono, high mono, and things like that. I mean, honestly, they're kind of a gimmick, but you have them if you want to use them. And you can control the effect strength. Okay, so as far as your everything else in your settings go, you have a couple of options there. This phone does support up to 8K 24 frames per second and 4K 60 or 4K 30 and super slow-mo and things like that. But if you go ahead and switch to pro mode, you have a couple of more options that you can mess around with. And you know, if you really want to go the extra mile in taking your pictures, you can adjust your shutter speed, your exposure manually, your focus center, your white balance, and your ISO level. So you can definitely mess around and take better pictures if you know what you're doing in the pro mode. And it does also have what's called a pro video mode. So it's a similar story to your pro mode, but you know, in the video quality side of things. So you can control your focus and a couple of things here and there in that pro video mode. Honestly, stick to regular photo and regular video. I think you'll be fine in that regard. So basically the camera experience in general, I give it a thumbs up in my book. You have a lot of things that you can control with this camera app, and you also can keep it simple and just shoot straight pictures and straight video. Alright, so now let's switch and talk about the image quality. So in a typical Samsung fashion, Samsung loves to kind of give you more vibrant, more saturated, a little bit warmer toned pictures. And this is basically the kind of expectations that you should have with this phone. Now obviously these pictures do look good, don't get me wrong, but when you switch to the wide angle lens, there's always a loss in quality in pretty much a lot of phones that have the wide angle lens. So that's nothing to blame the S23 FE or anything like that, but still is a very respectable pictures. Now in some scenarios as well, what I noticed is that 50 megapixel sensor also loves to over sharpen some pictures here and there. So this picture, for example, seems to be over sharpened. Now in some scenarios, again, that may be good, and others not so much. And yeah, the detail is there. The colors, like I said, it's a little bit saturated, and which is very pleasing to the eye, but detail is really big in this phone. So thanks to that 50 megapixel sensor, if you zoom in, you'll notice that this phone with sharpening does give you some really good detail. As far as colors go, again, back to the point of saturation and vibrant pictures, the colors on here are very pleasing to look at, so definitely get a thumbs up from me in that regard. In some areas of the picture, it does love to overexpose here and there, but overall as a quality, these are definitely pictures that are going to be very pleasing to look at and very, you know, nothing really too major to complain about as far as the picture quality. Now if you're looking for like real life pictures and natural lighting, if you mess around with the pro settings, you might be able to get that done, but in, your normal shooting here and there, you're not going to see that with Samsung. Dynamic range on here is a little bit on the softer side, so it's not as aggressive as I thought it would be. So that may be a thumbs up in some people's book, some others not so much. As far as your bokeh effect goes, this phone, I mean, I've read a lot of things about the portrait mode on the S23 FE, saying that it's slow and it's not really that fast at taking them. Me personally, I mean, honestly, I don't care how slow the portrait mode is. It wasn't really that slow, that dramatically slow, but it's not as fast as other phones, which I get that. But at the same time, in portrait shots anyway, you don't expect your subject to be moving around. If they do, then a lot of phones that support the portrait mode won't really be able to take some good pictures in that regard anyway. So yeah, it's a little bit slow, but when it does take portrait mode, it does a really, really solid job. So that's also a thumbs up in my book. So one of the areas where I really saw the phone struggle here and there is in kind of indoor photography under artificial light. So the pictures are not as vibrant and are as saturated as they are in natural light, which again, this is something where I kind of expected that. So it's not as vibrant, not as saturated, and not as good as you would see in natural light. So there is some level of noise here and there in the pictures, but overall though, it still is a solid experience. The shadows are all okay on this phone. The contrast is also okay in indoor photography, but when we switch up to kind of lower light photography, again, seeing noise in lower light photography is to be expected, but it also still holds very solid. So definitely still a strong performer in low light. When you move into even lower darks, again, you'll start to see noise here and there, but it does have this kind of low light mode that helps out a lot in taking pictures in low light. So that's also a thumbs up, but it's not really the best performer in low light scenarios. And overall, the main camera and the ultra wide and the telephoto lens, they all do a good job in taking pictures, whether it's daylight conditions or low light conditions. I'm definitely happy with the way that this phone takes pictures. Now the selfie camera here is a kind of a different story. It's good, it's not great, but it's good. And in lower light situations, it also is respectable. But where I really want to switch at is the video quality. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys the video quality of the selfie camera and the video quality of the main sensor. And we're going to go ahead and talk about it after you guys watch the video samples. Alright, so here we are. This is the test of the front-facing camera on the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE. So this will give you a better idea of how the front camera will perform in video capability. We out. Hey, what's up guys, TechTime here, and this is the video sample of the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE. And right now we're shooting in 4K at 60 frames per second, and this is what it looks like. So definitely what you would expect from video quality from Samsung. It's definitely really good. Is it up to par to iPhone quality? I'm not even going to discuss that. That's a discussion for a different day, but I really enjoy shooting videos with this phone. It kind of gives you this sort of saturated colors when you're shooting video. And you can not switch between the 1x and the wide angle or the telephoto while you're in video mode, especially when you're in 4K 60 frames per second. So here's how it looks like. Alright, so quick thoughts on the video capability of this phone. So this phone can shoot 8K up to 24 frames per second, 4K at 60 frames per second, 4K 30 frames, 1080p, 720p, and you can even shoot up to super slow-mo of 960 frames per second. But my main thing is that the video capability on this phone is not as strong as the picture quality in my opinion. The colors in general seem to be a little bit washed, and I do have to also give it a thumbs up for something though. The audio quality seems to be fine. The selfie video capability, it's okay. It works well for the most part. Now what I also have to say is this: if you want to be a content creator and you want to use this phone as like your main kind of video camera, then you'll be fine. I think with a little bit of post editing, you can make the colors pop and be a little bit more vibrant and more saturated like you're used to when it comes to picture quality. Overall though, as a phone, as a camera experience, as picture quality, video capability, this phone is stacked. Now I am going to be posting later on a separate video which will showcase the 8K, just because the 8K is just a large file that I don't really think a lot of people are going to be using it. I feel like it's just a flex that Samsung added to this phone. But yeah, it has optical image stabilization, which is a good thing, and it has also a mode called Super Steady, which I will be posting about it on my Instagram, so follow me there. I'll leave a link there for that in my bio, so make sure you follow me there to stay up to date. But yeah, basically the camera capability of this phone for the most part, for everything to round it up, is pretty good. I am not disappointed whatsoever, especially since this phone is at $599 unlocked. That is really good camera capability that it has. Now, is it the best out there? I don't think so. And again, it goes back to the Pixel conversation. But I feel like as a whole package though, as a phone, this has a better camera experience than the Pixel in my opinion. It may not compete with it in picture quality or video quality, but as an experience with the phone itself, as an integration, it works pretty well. So let me know your guys' thoughts below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel. With that being said, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the camera experience and the camera quality of this phone if you have this phone. If not, let me know what you think of this video. Do you think that it's worth upgrading from your current device or not? Leave it in the comments below. Make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel again, and I appreciate everyone for watching. See you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.